We are back. It is Saturday night and time for another round of Convince Me, as the guys will hear about players, topics, and teams and try to convince me that their point of view is the correct one.
Can we spruce the little book up a little bit?
Listen,
Can we get a new book cover?
The book is sacred.
I'm going to Piggly Wiggly tonight after work, and I'm going to get you some more grocery bags.
I think the book looks pretty good. It's about 70 years old. It's been handed down for generations.
The
Convince Me book.
But you know, this is my favorite game show.
Is it?
I've ever been on.
Thank you.
It's the only one I've ever been on.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a good start.
When you going to start giving out prizes?
I told you, as soon as that budget goes up, I'll have a new cover and everything. I'll have all prizes, cash, cars, vacations, whatever you want.
Baby.
All right, Sammy, as always, you're always a good place to start. Convince me, Sam, with the Kevin Durant injury, the Warriors will or will not hold on to the top seed in the West by the time we get to the end of the season.
I'm going to say they will not. I know they got a 2.5-game lead, and that's a lot with, 22 games to go. But when you look at what Golden State's going to have to do, the energy they're going to have to expend to hold on to that spot, at a certain point, I don't know if it's going to be worth it to them. Look, being the number 2 seed is not the worst thing, and the most important thing for Golden State is learning how to play now without Kevin Durant and hoping that when Kevin Durant comes back, he fits right in and they can pick up where they left off. But it's going to be hard because they're going to have to expend a lot of energy to hold on to that spot. And I don't know if it's going to be worth it based on what they went through last year, winning 73 games and what it took to achieve that. They may just say, look, let things happen, and if we fall to 2, that's okay.
I just wonder what the psychological effect would be of that, because Golden State has been so good for the last couple of years to step back. But, Stu, I'll let you answer if you think they will or will not.
Well, since the injury, it's going to take them a couple, 3 games to really reinvent themselves as a basketball team. But you have to remember, their bedrock is at the defensive end. Most people forget that about the Golden State Warriors. And at this time of the year, you got to start looking at the schedule. Golden State Warriors have about 20 games left. 11 of those games are against teams under 500. And 7 of them are at home. The Spurs, on the other hand, a little bit different story. 13 games against teams that are over 500. So I think they're going to stay buoyant and stay there, albeit it may be a little bit close.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's going to be a couple of matchups between the Spurs and the Warriors, but I think somehow Golden State will find a way to hang on, because there are going to be those times where Popovich says it doesn't matter.
And I agree, but you know what this injury has proven to me?
What's that?
That Westbrook is the MVP. Because,
it has?
Well, look at what Golden State is going through, still with 3 All-Stars, and we're talking about them possibly sliding because of Kevin Durant. They still got 3 All-Stars. So look at what Westbrook is doing now without Kevin Durant. And if you look at what Golden State, they're not panicking, but they're concerned trying to win basketball games without Kevin Durant. That tells you what Westbrook, to me, what he's doing is unbelievable, because if Golden State can slip with 3 All-Stars still on their team playing, then what does that tell you how good Kevin Durant is? And what does it tell you about Westbrook, what he's doing with OKC?
Yeah, and so much has been contoured around Kevin Durant, making sure that he fit in, and now had led in all these categories for Golden State.
And everybody says he's the best player on that team.
Yeah, he has been.
So think about it. So now when you think about it, the totality of Kevin Durant leaving OKC and what he means to Golden State with 3 other All-Stars, then it elevates Westbrook in my eyes.
Well, that's a wonderful point. Unfortunately, Stu was taking the first point.
Well, I knew I was going to lose to Stu when you executive, GM.
You just wanted the floor for a little bit?
No.
Can I see Carol Merrill, what's behind the curtain?
Not yet. We'll get to that portion of the game.
All right.
See if you want to trade it all for what's in the box.
This Vince.
Stu, let me ask you this. Convince me, can you still vote for Joel Embiid for Rookie of the Year? Or can you not pull the trigger on that one, given the fact that he is out and played only 31 games, 31 marvelous games?
Yeah, for me, you cannot. All right, Joel Embiid has played 31 games. If we take any other award in the NBA, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, if we get a player that goes out and defends as a defensive stopper for 20 games, he's not the Defensive Player of the Year. This league is built on longevity and performance over time. There are other candidates that have done that, played their 60, 61, 62 games. And albeit that they're not as big a name as Joel Embiid, they are more deserving of the award for the fact that they've had consistent performance over the course of the season.
Sammy.
I agree with Stu. It's hard for me to vote for a guy that's played 31 games, but when you look at the competition and you look at no one else has really distinguished himself, look.
Well, here are some candidates. I mean,
okay,
to
11
be fair,
points a game, 9 points
his teammate is really making a push right now.
8 points a game. Look, if you're telling me the Rookie of the Year averages 11 points a game, then
well, this is for the entire season.
I
but
understand.
if you look at him currently, he's put together a pretty good run.
It's difficult for me to say that for a guy that's played 31 games. I'm one of the guys that said he shouldn't have been an All-Star, which he wasn't. But when you look at when he plays and you look at the numbers and you look at his impact and you look at everyone else, the only other guy I could even think about is Brogdon, because he's playing big-time minutes for the Milwaukee Bucks, and they're teetering for that A spot, so they're in the thick of things. But I hate to say it, but look, Embiid, for the 31 games he's played, he's been head and shoulders better than anyone else.
Rebuttal.
If
you give the if you give the Rookie of the Year trophy to Embiid, I feel a tweet coming on. He'll feel bad.
I don't think so. He thought he was going to be there. He thought he should have made the All-Star team.
Sam, according to Chapter 3, Article 6, there is a rebuttal clause, and so he exercised that effectively, and guess what? He picked up another point, because you
must be
cannot
from Ohio.
vote for him after 31 games. 50, I'll say 50 maybe.
Who are you going to vote for?
Brogdon or Saric right now.
Okay, well,
those guys are in the hunt
It may be
for
the
that.
first time in the history of the NBA that a Rookie of the Year average under 10 points a game.
Well, he's playing, but they're playing. You can't do it on just, 31 games just isn't enough for me.
Vince, it's difficult for me. You heard me say it's difficult for me to give it to him. But when I look at, if it was anybody that's averaging 14 or 15 points, if they were shooting 2%, I would give it to him. But there's no one close. There's no one close.
Sam, I'm sorry. You're in quite a hole right now.
That's okay. I'm used to being A-Land. I went to Mercer, baby. I'm used to digging myself out of
Used
the
to
hole.
being the underdog?
Absolutely.
I like that.
I love it.
All right, Sam. Better playoff race. This is your comeback. Better playoff race for 8. Is it in the Eastern or the Western Conference? We always hear about, the Western Conference is better and it's just deeper. There's more excitement and better teams. And look at which one is it? Which is the better race? Is it going to be East or West for that 8 spot? What would you lock in on?
I'm going to say the West because of the players and the teams. When you look at DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, you look at Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, you look at Jokic for Denver, you look at Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum. If you look at those players, and there's some great players in the East vying for that A spot, but if you look at the group of players that are fighting for that A spot in the teams with those names, I just think it'll be more compelling. Think about if Minnesota gets to the A spot. How fun of a series that would be against Golden State or San Antonio. Think about Denver with Jokic the way he's playing, or even Portland with that backcourt they have, or even New Orleans with those two guys. So again, I just think with the talent that's in the West for those guys vying for the A spot, it just adds a little bit more excitement, because people would love to see what Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns or Boogie and AB. It'd just be intriguing to me if it's the Western Conference.
All right, the West is the easier answer, I would say, because it's the one we've gone to so many times before. Stu?
I'm going to take the difficult stance and say it's in the East is the most compelling race. But in both conferences, it's tough to label them intriguing, because whoever makes that A spot is going to have a sub-500 record. But that be said, in the East, currently you have 5 teams within 4 games of one another. The 8 and 9 spot is separated by 1 game. And then finally, I think one of the most intriguing stories in the NBA this year is the fact of how the Miami Heat are playing. And they're in that mix. And for me, that as I watch the standings every day, I'm sure you don't believe it. Sam doesn't believe just how well they're playing, given where everybody predicted they would finish at the beginning of the season. So for me, the most compelling race is in the East.
Rebuttal. Look at the names.
Now you're going to refer to
I'm going to use the rules.
All right.
Okay? Look, I agree with Stu. Miami's playing great. That's a team. But what do people want to see? They tune in not for teams, but for stars. And if you look at the West and you look at the possibility of DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis being in the playoffs, Andrew Wiggins, Karl Anthony Towns, and the list goes on. Look at those names in the West compared to, if Miami makes the A spot, all right, name me 5 players on the Miami Heat right now.
Wait.
We can do it, but the average fan can't do it right now.
When you were in grade
school, you get
school,
past Dragic and Whiteside. Name 5 other players on the Miami Heat.
You don't understand America, okay? When you were in grade school,
all right, Trump.
Did you read The Little Engine That Could?
Yes, I did.
America loves the underdog.
Yeah.
And if the Miami Heat make the playoffs, I think it's a very compelling story.
The little engine that could was red, right? Everybody identified with the little red fire truck, right? The little fire engine, right? It had an identity. What's your identity? Is it a team? It was a train.
Oh.
But was it a team or is it individuals? And I look at the individuals in the West.
Man, I have to regroup here for a second. I'm with you. That was the most compelling thing or intriguing to me was Miami because of this run they've made and the fact that Spoelstra has now placed himself maybe in Coach of the Year candidates, possibly as a Coach of the Year candidate. However, the stars are in the Western Conference, and some of those guys are going to be more fun if we can get them into a playoff series and watch what happens, particularly Denver, which has beaten Golden State once this season.
That was a makeup call.
Oh. Okay.
And finally this, convince me how any team can let this happen on their home floor by a visiting team. This was Boston at the Lakers Friday night.
Little move by Clarkson, tried to force it into Zubac.
I mean, come on. Off glass, IT to Jaylen Brown on your own floor, you're going to let that happen? Look at the Lakers just watching right here. Now, Luke Walton, to his credit, was upset. He said the guy should be upset, but he also said, you know what? If you're not going to get back on defense, that could happen. But that's unbelievable that just happened like a normal course of play, Stu.
Yeah, you can argue on one hand that Boston didn't have respect for their opponent. And I think that's a key factor with any team in terms of just respecting the game, respecting your opponent. But listen, in Boston's defense, they're up big, all right? And there's no one within 5 feet of Isaiah Thomas and Jaylen Brown. So the Lakers only have themselves to blame. You get a dive by there at half court. I don't know what he was doing. And then the slow trot by the Lakers going back, they asked for this. So I don't condone it, but they asked for it.
Sam, back in your day, would you stand for this? Would you let it happen?
Yeah, Vince, I mean, look, it's on the players. That has nothing to do with the coach. That's not a reflection of Luke Walton. Look, this is the difference between the Boston Celtics and the Lakers now. The players on the Celtics understand what that name means on the front of the jersey. They play hard, they play together, they fight each and every night. Those guys on the Lakers, they don't get it. Byron Scott used to say that last year. They don't understand what it means to put that purple and gold on, to have the Lakers on the front of that jersey. And so that's why Magic Johnson is there, and trust me, in a year or two, if those guys play with that type of effort, and if they don't understand quickly what it means to be a Los Angeles Laker, they will be either out the league or playing for someone else because that franchise is too proud to let those type of things happen. And I agree. Look, I have no problem with what Boston did. If you're going to lay down and allow me to come in your building and treat you like this, then I'm going to do it each and every time. Okay? It's all about respecting yourselves. I agree you should respect your opponents, but when your opponent don't respect themselves, then you have your way with them.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Absolutely.
In that game, and I have to split the point. That means 2.5 to 1.5.
You just can give me. It just can be a tie.
2.5 to 0.5.
Well, he got one.
He gave me half point.
Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? I went to Mercer. Where'd you go? Okay.
Is that accredited? Okay.
According to the rules, I can split the point there at the end. So you are officially the winner. Just take.
Where
the
you
win.
from now?
I'm from Ohio.
Mistake by the
Cleveland,
lake,
Ohio.
right?
Cleveland, Ohio. Watch it now.
Okay.
Watch it now. I still got people there.
Well, I don't have to go there though.
But I can get them here.